So I'm here with Sean XLG, a respected rap artist and hip hop historian. We were talking before I started the camera about interviewing you on an RD84 show, and I'm pretty familiar with your story. But for people who are watching this interview, who might not be as familiar, can you tell them a little bit about who you are?
Oh yeah, man. I'm old school hip hop. I was one of those cats that was always in the background of hip hop. So, I'm the first rapper to win a national music competition, and that happened in 1990. That was with Radio Scope, which was a radio program that was aired from out of California. So they did a nationwide, it was a syndicated program. So they did a nationwide talent show. And so I was competing with singers and other rappers, and this was back in 1990. And the winner of the contest was actually going to be awarded a recording contract with Motown Records.
Okay.
So now this kind of gives you an idea as to what the climate was like for hip hop back in 1990. I actually won 3 consecutive times. Before the fourth contest, I received a letter telling me that they have discontinued the contest. So technically, I would have been the first rapper with Motown Records had they not discontinued the contest. But those things kind of happen, and I think Motown back then was shying away from hip hop because of some of the negative publicity and popularity that was involved in hip hop back in that time frame. And Motown was known for the 60s and the 70s, those classic soul jams. You talking about Marvin Gaye and the Temptations and those kind of groups. And to sign a rap artist was probably not on their agenda at that time.
Yeah, I was looking it up and it was saying like the first artist that they signed was a female artist, like MC Trouble.
Oh, yes. Rest in peace. Yes. MC Trouble. Yeah, I believe she was from out of Philly. Yeah. And she had a tragic accident actually. But yeah, she's always, in everyone's thoughts, and especially when we get around to the 50th anniversary of hip hop, artists that are no longer here, which is one of the songs I did on my album was tribute to Heavy D, because there's a lot of artists that have passed away over the years and they're no longer with us, and we can't give them their flowers. So that was one of the things I wanted to do, was try to, do something that had a positive meaning to it, some type of significance to it.
Yeah,
And
we do lose a lot of our iconic figures as they get older, people sometimes die untimely deaths, people like Shock G, you know,
yeah,
what was it like, coming up in the early days of hip hop? What's some of the fondest memories you have?
well, some of the fondest memories actually came. I was I had when I was in high school, I actually had won my local talent show in high school, and one of the groups that I actually competed against turned out to be a platinum selling rap group. I don't think I should call their names out, but they ended up going platinum. In fact, you hear their hit record comes on Target commercials right now. So, but anyway, we were in high school together. I kind of beat them out. Um, and then after that, I started hanging around. I was trying to get a record deal and I was trying to hustle. So you're talking about the mid 80s. And I was going around hanging out at the radio station, which was one of the Kiss stations down and this was down in North Carolina actually at the time. And I was going around hanging around the station and meeting with the general manager, and I was hanging around so much that everybody who worked at the station knew me. And so and me and my DJ, we were going around and just trying to get a deal. So the general manager, he really respected us and appreciated what we were trying to do. So he would take us around to the concerts. So we were meeting MC Hammer. We were meeting Rockmaster Scott, the Dynamic Three. We were meeting Vesta Williams and Colonel Abrams, the R&B singers, as well as rap artists that were out at that time. And so that was really exciting. And then by the time I ended up around 1990, before I won the national music competition, I actually came and recorded at Stacy Lattisaw's recording studio, which is located in Fort Washington, Maryland. And so Stacy Lattisaw was pretty big on the R&B market. You know, she and Johnny Gill did those hit records back in the 80s. So she was pretty popular at the time. But yeah, so I ended up recording there and winning the national music competition. And then after that, I got picked up by Black Diamond Records, which was a small, relatively small record label based in California. And so I recorded on a CD compilation for them. I did a song "Bad Girls Wear Black" and on a CD compilation with Black Diamond Records. And then after that, I was just kept trying to push. And then around that time, you have to also pay bills. So, I was caught between, working jobs and going to the studio and recording new music. And then just trying to still keep the dream alive and still trying to make an impact in hip hop as well. And then I ended up writing the book. Uh, Hip Hop Parade celebrating 30 years of rap music, which became a bestseller. It's one of the top books on hip hop and hip hop history. So I ended up reaching out to a lot of artists for that particular work. Grandmaster Melly Mel, Cool Rock, the Fat Boys. We have a lot of artists that I interviewed with the book. Yeah, so that was a real good experience as well, having gone through that.
And yeah, you're planning a docu-series and like, some of the artists you mentioned, JJ Fad, Cool Rock of the Fat Boys and Houdini, like, are gonna be featured in that series.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. So that actually it all came about accidentally. I was on my Facebook account. Somebody reached out to me, an actress actually, Barbara Miles reached out to me. So we ended up chatting and connecting and finding out, okay, this is what you do, this is what I do. Let's see if we can work together. So we ended up adding Q Chambers to the mix because Q was a screenwriter at the time already. And so the three of us kind of got together, we gelled, and we was like, okay, let's start doing a docu series because we could take these artists and put them in a format and we could get that going. So I reached out to one of the guys, Jeremy, one of the guys at the Hip Hop Museum in DC,
Wow.
and he was open to us being there and recording and doing the movies. Then I was like, that is fantastic. So we got a connection with the DC area with the Hip Hop Museum. I also have Wanda D on board, who's going one of the international artists, international hip hop artists, Wanda D. So she's going to be on board with us as well. And it's funny because you and I right now we're talking. I just reached out to DMC or Run DMC,
Wow.
and so yeah, and I think he just responded back on my phone. I'm not going to check it right now, but just to let you know, just we're just staying busy and we're getting artists lined up, and we're looking forward to putting together this docu series. And we plan on shooting at the end of August. Actually, we're going to start with JJ Fad, and they did the Supersonic record. That was a pretty big hit back in the day. They were always kind of like Salt and Pepper was here. JJ Fad was like right behind Salt and Pepper as far as the female groups were concerned. Back in the late '80s into the '90s, so they were really popular at that time. Yeah, and of course, they were founded by Eazy-E, so they have this whole NWA connection with JJ Fad. So, that's really cool too. A lot of people don't really know their story. So it'd be fascinating when people actually check it out and hear, some of the personal accounts that they're going to be sharing in the docu series.
Most definitely. Being an artist from an older generation of music, Method Man, he recently, has refused to perform at Hot 97 Summer Jam again, like, after performing this last night, I think. And like basically the Summer Jam concert, he's saying is not their crowd, like, and like a lot of people are saying it's the generation gap. Do you feel like, that there's like, a generation gap between like listeners of hip hop today?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's an unfortunate that there's a generation gap, but yeah, I really feel that there's a separation between, especially the classic artists. Instead of calling them old school, I just like to call them classic artists that came out and they were the pioneers of the whole entire movement. And, a lot of the younger audience are not familiar with some of the pioneers. And it's like, it's one of those things that I kind of look at Black radio as having a little bit of responsibility as far as the separation between the generations. And I'll give you an example. When I was coming up, my parents listened to a lot of the R&B music from Motown, those kind of records. And so, the radio would play those songs. And then my father had a huge record collection. Um, that had all of these different records, James Brown, the Temptations, Diana Ross, and the Supremes, and all of these records. And so we learned, throughout my childhood what their music was, what the older generation music was. I don't think radio has embraced hip hop in the same way that it embraced R&B music. And so my kids understand the old school hip hop because they grew up with me. So,
Right, right.
they didn't have a choice. But a lot of the radio stations don't really play unless you're talking about like a Friday night mix or a Saturday night mix down or something like that, or what do they call the lunchtime, the 12 o'clock mix down or whatever, old school mix. But as far as just playing the songs, most radio stations don't actually play old school hip hop songs. I think with this, with the exception of maybe a Houdini, a Heavy D, and some of those artists, their music gets played every once in a while. But for the most part, you don't hear a lot of those artists' music that was made back in the day. And so I think radio has a responsibility to sort of help bridge that gap between the generations. And I think they have dropped the ball as far as that's concerned.
Yeah. You have a new album coming out. It's called Artificial Intelligence, which I feel like, is appropriately named because like, that's one of like the biggest themes, you hear, especially like, the issues with artists, you have all these like AI songs getting released. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I thought it was that's actually the reason I named the album Artificial Intelligence. It was actually released Saturday, actually, this past Saturday.
Okay.
And so yeah. But yeah, it was like every time you turn around, there's something about AI, artificial intelligence. So I was like, that would be a really cool title for my album. And it'll help it stand out. And my music is a little bit different. I try to approach hip hop with more of a conscious um, uh, intention to try to create the music without the profanity, without the violence, and without the threats, that you often hear in a lot of hip hop music. So I wanted to create a brand of hip hop that didn't have those negative attributes. So I started doing instrumental hip hop. And if you go back to 1984, um, I think one of the Davey DMX did a record called One for the Trouble, and it was a big hit, and it was an instrumental record. It was like the first hip hop record other than the jazz. There was a jazz record with Grand Mix of DST did a collaboration in around 1981 with a jazz record. It actually won a Grammy. It was called Rocket. Um, the jazz artist escapes me at the moment, but and then by '84, when Davy DMX came out with One for the Trouble, I was like, that's a cool record. And so it always stuck in the back of my mind that you can create hip hop with instrumental without the lyrics. And although I'm a lyricist, in the climate of what they're talking about today, I'm not going to talk about those issues. I'm not going to talk about, those certain topics. So I would rather just make the music, the instrumental music, where you can actually just feel the vibe of hip hop, true hip hop, and you don't have to worry about the negative as attributes that comes with it. So that was my motivating factor with coming up with what I call adult contemporary hip hop.
Most definitely, like, creating your own genre, man. Like, Sean, you're also a respected journalist who wrote a highly regarded article for USA Today entitled "What Hip Hop Means to Us." That's a huge accomplishment. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh yes, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I actually, I connected with Michelle. She's the head of the at USA Today in terms of these articles, and so they reached out to me and asked if I would be open to participating in writing a couple of hip hop articles. So I actually did two. One is called Dress to Impress, and the other one is the one that you just referred to. But it was fun writing those articles, going back in time and talking again with the artists and just reliving some of that past nostalgia. And so it felt good to be participating in that. And then also, of course, it's always important if we're talking about the 50th anniversary of hip hop. So we're going back to 1973. And so I thought it was important for someone who really knows the history of hip hop like myself to be able to participate. And it's not just a regular journalist who doesn't know anything about hip hop. So I took looked at it as having a sense of responsibility to be able to participate and write in those articles. But I had fun doing it. Great crew that I worked with at USA Today. Yeah, we got it out. I don't know if we're going to win an award. I know we were nominated for a journalism award for that article, and so I'm cross my fingers and hope we can actually walk away with a win with a trophy. That would be great. Yeah, but yeah, that was really cool to be able to participate in doing that national article on hip hop.
Most definitely. What's next for you?
Um, you know, I think I'm gonna see how the docu series goes. Really excited about that, and I really want to spend a lot of time and focus in on that, and then just try to get that successful. One of the things when you look at guys like 50 Cent and artists like Jay-Z, one of the things that they do, they put their hands in different pots. They're writing TV scripts and movies, and I take my hat off to 50, man, because the brother has gotten involved. He has his own wine and wine brand. Same thing with Jay-Z. They have their hands in a lot of pots, and they're still making music too. So I still want to do the music. I still have that drive and excitement to do the music, and but I also want to branch out and start doing the docu series, and then from there we intend on actually doing full length movies as well. So we're going to do the docu series first, and then the plan is to follow that up with full length movies, kind of like what we saw with Straight Outta Compton. So we want to write movie scripts and get them going. And Q has already started movie scripts on the Fat Boys, the story of the Fat Boys, and so he's an amazing writer. We met with Cool. We had a meeting with Cool, and it was kind of like one of those 6 hour sessions, man. So we chopped it up. We brought food in, so we had lunch and we just chopped it up. and we came up with different ideas, different formats on how we want to approach everything. Then we met the next day, the following day, we met with JJ Fad. And so we got a chance to vibe with them and hear their stories and, you know, and figure out how we want to move forward with them. And actually, we're actually working on a book for JJ Fad as well. So there'll be a book that's going to be coming out, and that's going to surprise a lot of people and get a lot of the old school or classic fans excited about what we're doing with the docu-series and the full length of movies.
When
Yeah.
is the book supposed to be coming out? And I'll definitely keep my eye out for it. That's something I would be interested in, a JJ Fad book.
Oh, okay. Yeah, hopefully we're hoping to have everything done simultaneously. So by, let's say, sometime, I'm thinking around October, we should have the both, we should have the filming completed as well as the book completed. And so yeah, looking forward to getting that out and getting their story heard. And but there's a lot of artists that are going around. Of course, Run DMC recently did a movie, and they did theirs based on their experience coming up in Queens, New York.
Right, right.
Yeah, yeah. So a lot of artists are working on docu-series. I just heard not too long ago, Grandmaster Caz of the Cold Crush Brothers is coming out with a docu-series. And so it's like everybody's doing these bios and which is great that artists are being recognized from back in the day, So that's really cool that these bio and films are coming out on these artists. So
Yeah, shout out to Grandmaster Cass. I've actually met him in person.
oh,
Yeah, like man, I love hip hop, man. Like, I have like, a lot of respect for your contribution. Like, being like, somebody who's reached 6 million streams. What would be your advice to aspiring artists?
oh man, don't give up. Do your homework, study the music, study the history of the music, and really, really get an understanding of the artistic part of the music. One of the things, one of the biggest misnomers about hip hop, like if I were to say Dr. Dre, the Chronic album, one of the greatest hip hop albums of all time, most people would agree with me with saying that. But what people are missing is if I were to say the Escape album by Whodini, one of the greatest hip hop albums of all time, a lot of people that would go over their head. They wouldn't understand what I was talking about because they would be like, Whodini, really? But if you understand the artistic part of hip hop and not just the popularity of hip hop, you have to understand the artistic side of hip hop because there's two different sides. You have MCs and you have artists. And if you understand the difference between the two, then you can see the value in Houdini's music. And so they were able to the whole thing of songwriting, when rappers talk about 16 bars, all of that originated with Houdini. A lot of people don't know that. But if you go back, they were like the first artists to do 16 bars in music. If you go back to Haunted House of Rock, go back to songs like 5 Minutes of Funk, Big Mouth, Friends, they were the first ones to actually do that. And so they really taught a lot of artists in the realm of hip hop how to write songs, how to understand subject matter. And so you have to, if you really love it, embrace it, fully embrace everything about it, and then take out what you need to take out in terms of creating your own music. But that's what I would say to a lot of the younger people who are trying to get into hip hop.
I think embracing hip hop, it brings up the idea of battle rapping. This Kendrick Lamar Drake beef is like, played out. Like, a lot of people have declared Kendrick the victor. Do you go with that consensus?
You know, I stay out of this generation, but I love battle rap. Actually, from the artistic side of hip hop, and not when there was a difference because back in the day everybody used to battle. Now it's more like a beef, And when you start talking about someone's personal business, that's like it doesn't really belong in music. Sometimes some of the artists can cross the line when it comes to putting out each other's personal business, who they slept with and who did this and who did that. I don't think there's a place in hip hop for that. And not to discredit their music or anything like that, but when we were coming up, a battle was a battle. It was an MC versus another MC, and it was all about lyrical skills. Who had the best lyrical skills? So if you go back to the battle between Kumo D and Busy B, that New Year's battle, it's about lyrical skills. And now it's you know, more so about talking about people's personal business. And if I catch you on the street, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. But the real battle that we that it originated from was actually artistic. Who had the better lyrics? And that's how MCs went at each other. And so it's a little bit concerning that the lyrics have really ventured, off that path and gotten into more of a personal space. But at the same time, it's everything evolves and everything grows. So, part of it we have to accept. But there's another part that we can also try, especially the older generation, those of us who were there in the beginning. We could also try to help the younger generation by correcting some of these things. And
Most definitely, man. Sean XLG, like, I really appreciate you taking the time.
yeah, yeah, I appreciate you having me on. Yeah, so definitely, and I'll definitely keep you abreast of what's going on with the filming the docu series that we're doing, and invite you down. You're a true hip hopper, so once we get everything together, I'll invite you down to come to the live taping of the one of the shows, maybe the JJ Fad show coming up. So if you have a way of getting to
Yeah,
DC.
most definitely. Yeah, like I would love to, man. Like, you invite me, I'll be there. I definitely love the DC area. And man, like I'm saying, I look forward to meeting you in person.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, we'll try to make that happen. So as we get closer to that date and we get everything ironed out and we get all you know how it is when you're trying to piece
Yeah,
together something huge. You have to, first of all, you have to take your time. You have to know the people that you're working with. You have to understand all the various components. And so once we get everything going, I would absolutely invite you down, man, and hang out and be a part of the live show, man. That would be fantastic.
definitely, man. I thank you. And I look forward to talking to you again.
Yep, sounds good, brother.
All right,
All
you have a
right.
great one.